Hello, everybody, and welcome right on back to That Real Texas Team podcast number 29. And we're here tonight to talk week one preview against the Colts. We've got other things to get into. Team captains have been announced. Who's going to play? This is right before the first team injury report has come out. So we're just hoping that Will Anderson Jr. makes the field. We'll get in a little bit of like depth charts because the depth charts that I've seen are pretty interesting. And then we'll bring Jeff Steckel from Unstabled on, and we'll talk Texans Colts week one and just have a good time. So without any further ado, my name is Curtis. This is Mike, our new Texans guy as well. You can check him over at Mass 3 Productions. You can also just go check out his YouTube channel. He's a videographer, photographer, very skilled at that. Down here at the bottom, we've got Chris, who is the host of his own YouTube channel, That Crazy Podcast and Talk. Please go check out his channel, like and subscribe. Trying to grow the family here. One of the goals we had before this episode was to hit 100 subscribers. As of this moment, we're at 102. So,
there we go.
Well done, folks. Just bravo.
Growing.
So, gentlemen, how are we feeling tonight? We got anything that's on the top of the dome before we get into the meat of tonight's discussions?
Other than saying just congratulations, Davis Mills.
Oh, yeah.
Money Mills. I guess that's what we can really call him now.
Yeah. Money Mills, the neck, gets the extension. He's basically a giraffe out there.
CJ, I would assume CJ had quite a bit to do with that, too. I would assume that CJ likes him. I don't think if they weren't at least cordial with each other, that they would sign an extension to where he would at least match out to CJ's rookie contract. That's the only takeaway I have from that as far as those things go with the contract extension. But congratulations, Davis Mills. I have no problem with it. It ain't like he had anybody to help him when he was playing quarterback.
Right.
Especially Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, and Cooks tried to quit.
Not that guy.
Yeah. Another addition to the practice squad has been made. Rashad Weaver, former Tennessee Titan. I believe he was like a 4th-round draft pick. A big-bodied guy, able to kind of put his hand in the dirt and be an edge rusher. That's what we brought him in for. He's big enough to where he might be able to squeeze inside like Tanico Autry does. I think that's kind of the reason they brought him in on the practice squad, to kind of see what he's working with. Maybe see if they can use him in that kind of role. Do y'all know much about Weaver?
Not a whole lot. I've seen some of his preseason work, but other than that, he was just another guy that was on the team.
Okay.
Like you said, he is a pretty big guy. I don't know if it was 280, 290. He's not quite 300, but he's a pretty big dude. That's the only thing I can really remember about him.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. Another little snippet here. We got the tidbit about the captains. Captains are usually, they make pretty cohesive sense. Will Anderson Jr., CJ Stroud, John Weeks. I mean, why are we not going to give the long snapper who's been with the team since like day 3 of the franchise to just let him be the captain? And then we got Tunsil, Aziz Al-Shaair, Jimmy Ward, and then someone everybody claims as a diva, Stephon Diggs. First year with the team, makes it with a C on his chest. That's interesting. What are y'all's thoughts about that?
I think part of the reason that really just happened is the fact that Tank and Nico and Xavier and Mechie and all of these guys are young. So they look up to Stephon Diggs as, hey, this is the guy I wanted to be when I was in high school, to a point, if we're being honest. These guys were in high school when Stephon Diggs started. They all were receivers. The only other veteran receiver on the entire roster is Bobby Trees, Robert Woods. It makes sense. Like I said, if you've seen him around practice, you've seen him talking to CJ, even seen him talking to Davis Mills and everybody out there, he's imparting some of his knowledge on what he knows about the NFL and what it takes to win. And I think they're soaking it up. And apparently they must be because they gave him that C on his test.
Yeah. Chris, thoughts?
So, like, my thoughts are I have no problem with the Stephon Diggs whatsoever. I agree completely with Mike as far as he's also a veteran. These guys looked up to him. And I just, as much as I don't want to overstate how good I think the team will be with Stephon Diggs, but we also got to remember Stephon Diggs, like, is that dude. And Ben had 1,200 yards last year, and they stopped throwing the ball to him. I'm just that's really why I don't have a problem with it. He instantly made Josh Allen better, and I think that CJ is better than Josh Allen when Josh Allen first came in the league. I can't say that right now, even though CJ is my quarterback. I can't say that after 1 year, even though he was stupendous in everything I saw him do.
You can say it. You can go ahead and say it. It's okay. Nobody arguing with you.
Of course, do I think my quarterback's the best? Of course. But, that's something that, you can't really honestly say right now without seeing a little more from him. But I just don't see how he can get, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think that Josh Allen was gonna be that good. I honestly, I think Stephon Diggs had a lot to do with that. Surely not Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, every once in a while, he'll have a big 80-yard catch, and then it's like, oh, Gabe Davis, and then you don't hear from Gabe Davis no more. But Stephon Diggs constantly has 1,000-yard season, so I have no problem with it whatsoever.
Good. Yeah, I mean, it's just funny to me that somebody like that who can come in and, is already labeled with diva, problem child, locker room cancer. He comes in immediately, the team around him is learning from him, and he's a mentor to some of these players, and they vote him team captain. There's not a better narrative right now to me than that. The fact that the entirety of the nation wants him to be a villain that bad. And instead, he's coming in and leading by example.
Sounds like there's been some cap spread.
Yeah, I think that D'Amico helped him buy in. I think he buys in a little easier when the coach has been there and done that. And he's literally done that for this organization. So, I mean, I think Stephon's boxes are, metaphorically checked at this point. Now it's just time to go out there and play ball and be the guy that we traded for. You don't need at this point with Nico in my mind being wide receiver 1. Stephon Diggs just needs to come in and be a good complement, and I'm happy with the trade.
Yeah.
You guys got any more Stephon Diggs or team captain comments?
Like I said, the rest of the team captains all make sense. The only thing that was sort of weird was I was a little surprised not to see Stingley.
Yeah.
Just
that was weird. Maybe.
But it might also be a choice that they might have offered it to him and he don't want to be a captain. Some guys are just not built for certain roles. He just wants to get out there and work hard, which I think he's been doing, especially recently.
Yeah, like I said, all the guys that have been chosen, there's no quiet personalities in that bunch. I don't think not one.
No.
And if you saying it that way, Stingley is a quiet, keep to myself type of guy.
Yeah.
If you think about you said, okay, so Tank wasn't a captain, but I mean, he will be someone that wouldn't surprise me being a captain, though. If it was Tank, I know his second year also, but just because I'm literally seeing interviews with him everywhere. I'm seeing outspokenness. That's what I love about CJ. I love he's outspoken, but I love he's humble at the same time. I love that he's competitive, just a friendly competitiveness with everyone, outside of football. And that's what I like about our quarterback the most. More than his play. It sounds crazy, but more than his play, because I think that helps his play and it helps his teammates want to play for him. Like it's the same thing with like Patrick Mahomes. Like they can make fun of Patrick Mahomes all they want. But I bet Patrick Mahomes might be one of the funnest dudes to ever be around. But he sound like Kermit the Frog. Like I'm just like just
the ball to Travis Kelce.
I'm sure they have like an incredible time around Patrick Mahomes, and guys just really want to play with him. I don't care what Tyreek Hill says.
Yeah. All right, all right. Well, look, let's pivot here a little bit. We're talking a little bit about injuries, and we're going to talk about Will Anderson. There's a chance that he doesn't play this week. On the hypothetical, how are we feeling if he does not suit up? How much of a difference does it make if he does suit up or doesn't suit up for this game?
I'm not mad if he doesn't suit up.
Oh, you're better than me. You're much better than me. I can't say that. I can't say that at all.
Not if he's hurt. Not if he's hurt. I don't want him to suit up
If he's actually hurt, we have to deal with it one way or the other. But I would rather he be on the field, especially when we have a running escape from the pocket quarterback. Because if he doesn't play, we're looking at Jerry Hughes, who's almost my age,
Barnett,
or Derek Barnett.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel good about that. It makes me miss Danico Autry even more.
Oh yeah, he's gone for this game. Lord.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, no, if it was anybody else other than Anthony, I probably would have been okay with Will not playing, but not a guy who's gassed us.
Well, I mean, I think it's even bigger for the run stop against Jonathan Taylor that Will Anderson plays. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's been able to, I think the last 6 games combined against the Texans, it's like 6 yards a carry he's averaging. We're talking 135 plus yards a game. I think the last 4 games, it's like an average of 153. Homie's been able to eat. So we need to figure out that problem first.
So, and then the fact I forgot all about it. I don't know how I did, but Christian Harris isn't playing either.
Yep.
So it means that I either got to see a lot of Henry Toa.
Yep.
Or Jake Hansen.
Yep. A lot of that.
I don't feel good about either one of those.
No.
And I like him. I like him. I really do. But no, he's not Christian Harris.
No, he's not. But I think Aziz is better than we give him credit for, at least initially. I mean, he's somebody who was literally raised in D'Amico Ryan's linebacking system. And then he goes and plays a 1-year deal to prove himself in Tennessee and comes here and gets the bag. So he basically has just kind of stayed in the pocket in the sense of like he's got a scheme that he's really, really good at. He has now found a second home, in my opinion, where he's going to be able to flourish. Christian Harris may not be on the field, but Aziz Al-Shaair is an extension of D'Amico Ryan's on the field. From all accounts, he's going to be phenomenally better than Denzel Perryman was last year.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I'm just still a little nervous that he's the only linebacker that we have any faith in.
I mean, true, and definitely a problem. But maybe Henry To'o has found like intestinal fortitude, and now he's just going to be able to lay the wood. Who knows?
A middle linebacker will make better outside linebackers. He just because Aziz is going to bring that intensity. He's going to. We know that. I'm not even questioning that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it just trickles down and blends to a couple other people.
Yeah. But, this is also going to be the first time that we're seeing a lot of 3 safeties on the field with Petrie kind of being that star position. I'm excited to see how all this works out. We'll get into that a little bit more when we bring Jeff on. And then I'm going to pull up the depth chart real quick because there was some oddities that I wanted to talk about. All right. So on the depth chart, at running back, it goes Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce, 3rd string Dario Gumbawale, 4th Cam Akers, British Brooks.
Yeah, no.
How does that make sense? What are we?
Repeat that. I'm sorry. That sounded very strange. Can you repeat that, please?
It's imaginary.
Joe Mixon is 1st, Dameon Pierce 2nd, Dario Gumbawale 3rd, Cam Akers, British Brooks 4th string.
Okay, so how does that work?
I don't know. So the only thing that makes sense to me is that Joe Mixon is like if you're playing like Madden or whatever, you got the 3rd down running back. Joe Mixon is running back 1 and 3rd down running back 1. and Dameon Pierce is running back 2, and then third down running back 2 is Cam Akers. That's the way it makes the most sense to me.
It does, but I love Dameon Pierce, and maybe he'll be better than what we've seen already. But Cam Akers should be the running back 2.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a
at least running back 3.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like it's like a blocking scheme. I don't know. Maybe because like how you explaining like the Madden thing. Maybe it's like a blocking scheme for second down or something. I don't. It sounds because like when you say Dameon Pierce, love Dameon Pierce just not last year or the preseason.
Yeah. On the defense, it's so all year, all offseason, Mario Edwards Jr. and Danico Autry were labeled as defensive ends. However, in this depth chart, Mario Edwards is a defensive tackle.
That's where it looked like he was playing when on the field too. So it's not completely.
Well, I think they've got him kind of doing like the base formation that we run now is basically a nickel. So like he's a rush defensive tackle.
Yeah,
that makes the most sense. And then let's see. It doesn't have Jalen Petrie in the nickel. It has Jalen Petrie as the starting safety, and it doesn't have a first team nickel. It just has second team Miles Bryant, which is kind of interesting. So I think that means that, at some point there will be, when we do the nickel, that Petrie is still the nickel, and then Kalen Bullock will slide up. And if something were to happen, Miles Bryant is the backup, which is
that would be the only thing that makes sense, especially after cutting King.
Yeah.
God,
I wouldn't be surprised he comes back again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, everything else kind of makes sense. The offensive line having 4 bodies is perfect. I like the people that are on the roster still in that position. So, I mean, I'm set there. Do you guys have any more depth chart stuff before we get right on into Texans Colts?
Well, I think the only thing that would still looked a little weird to me is where they have Kalen Bullock on that safety. And
yeah.
From what I saw, there's no way you can keep that man off the field, especially if MJ Stewart and is it Eric Murray?
Yeah.
Are the 2 guys keeping Kalen Bullock off the field?
He's the second string safety. I think he's going to be getting a lot of playing time.
I hope so.
When Petrie goes to nickel. I think that's what it's going to be.
I really do hope so, because I can't.
Yeah, no, I mean, the other guys are, I feel like, a little too old to put that kind of investment into at this point. Like, I don't think MJ Stewart or Eric Murray are just going to suddenly develop into like the second coming of Brian Dawkins.
No, in honest opinion, with MJ Stewart, I actually thought we were going to keep lining.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like for an older defensive back, I guess transitioning, like safety wise, you would think it wouldn't be as hard for them, but you never know, because that's usually what happens a lot of times, guys. Unless you're like Petrie, where you're just like just straight up safety, because Petrie, to me, in my opinion, because he was drafted with Stingley, right? I know you drafted after, but he was drafted the same year,
same draft.
Petrie, I felt like I saw so much of Petrie doing this and doing that, but then there would be games that Petrie disappeared. Like if that makes sense of what I'm trying to say. And this is just at the beginning. I'm saying I do agree with where he's at, with how they're running him in the nickel. I do agree with that, because I think he has developed very well in the safety position. And I don't know. I just feel like for an older guy, it shouldn't be hard. If you're coming up for a backup safety, I feel like it shouldn't be hard. But I also don't know. I don't play football.
I mean, I feel
Petrie to me he's a linebacker in a safety body, in a cornerback body. Like if he'd have been a little bit bigger, he'd have been a great linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bigger.
I think in the future he'll probably.
I love when they bring him on that safety blitz. I love that.
Oh yeah, I think he'll be used in the future, kind of like the way Jamal Adams is used. Not necessarily. I think he's got more coverage skills than Jamal Adams. I just think with time, maybe like by the time he's nearing 30, maybe the athleticism's taking a dip, and you just got to keep him around the line. But Petry's a monster. In this system, I'm hoping he's going to be better than he was his rookie year.
I'm excited. I am excited about that. Like that, when the fact that D'Amico came out of his own mouth and said, we're going to turn that guy loose.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Oh, no, I agree with it. I think he hits hard and everything. I love watching him play. Like I say, my only issue with Petry, I feel like he gets a little too excited. I don't know, like if that makes sense. Like I feel like I don't know, like sometimes like he just a little too excited, and I don't know, like he maybe overjumps himself. I don't know. I can't really.
I get where you're going with it. It's like sometimes he tries to hit instead of tackling.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just like maybe he's just doing instead of just using regular fundamentals. I feel like sometimes he's just going overboard because he is so good, and that might have been a problem with why he was drafted a lot later. In the draft, like, I'm still glad we got him because I think he's done very well since he's been here. Especially with watching Stingley go through. I get it. Stingley's not a safety, but still. Watching Stingley go through his problems with injury at the beginning and all of that, he was a real a nice bright shining star on the defense to see, especially back in that safety and cornerback area where I feel like we don't ever have anyone good back there. It just sounds bad to say, but I don't ever feel like we have anybody good back there. Yeah. So I'm happy with what we're working with. It's just our run defense is what scares me. I'm scared that our run defense might not be that. That's our only problem with. I feel like our defense the most is our run defense. I feel like these running backs, they always get to the second level. Always, it never fails. But other than that, I no problems whatsoever. I think honestly, I think we're gonna have a great season. So we're just gonna go. I also like to say. I know we talked about Will Anderson. I honestly, game one, I don't see that being a problem just because if he's really hurt. I don't see it being a problem if he's really hurt. We started 0-2 last year and made it to the playoffs. I don't want to be the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm just saying. Saying, we got to make sure we put that in there. I don't want to be them. I would like to win on Sunday. But, at the same time, I don't want to risk Will Anderson getting hurt if we don't have to. And especially when we're going to have our big guns, we're going to have Autry back in mid-season and things like that. Everybody's going to – and then think about it back then. We're going to get Autry back. We're going to have a lot of people – a lot of other teams are going to start getting banged up at the end of the season. I don't want a banged-up Will Anderson to go out there and get more banged up or be out for the season, and then we can't go anywhere. We didn't lost our – defensive rookie of the year, and that's the only thing that scares me. Just because he's so young, let him work it and just bring him in. I'd rather work him in slowly. If he plays, I'm cool if he plays and it's a limited. Let's say if they limit his action to get him some reps in, kind of like a preseason type thing, I would be more okay with that if he plays than him trying to go out there full force.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. All right. Well, look, let's go ahead, bring in Jeff from Unstabled. He is the host. You can also find him. You can find him at Unstabled1 on YouTube. You can also see him on this AFC South show on Curtis's Podcast Network. This is Jeff, the Colts guy. Jeff, how are we doing tonight, brother?
Doing good, man. Tired, but doing pretty good. Football's back, baby.
Oh, thank
Yes,
God.
sir.
There might not be a better feeling on this planet than having football back.
Best time of the season.
Well, maybe holding your kid for the first time is like.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's a tie. So look, we're here for obvious reasons. Let's talk Texans, Colts. Jeff, question one, and gentlemen, if you have questions, feel free to ask. But let's just try to go one at a time and keep it. We're cool. We're friends. We don't have to dig at him. But first question, AR. Obviously, there's been a lot of issues with him staying on the field. I actually heard on the radio earlier today that in high school he started 6 games.
Mhm.
In college he started 13. And now in the NFL he has started 4. How are you feeling about Anthony Richardson? Is he less made of glass now? Was that maybe, do you think he's past that era? What are we thinking here?
I mean, time will tell. Injuries, they can bite anybody at any time. But I saw a lot in preseason. With the limited time that he played, I saw a lot more smart decision making. I saw him get out of bounds instead of trying to fight for a yard or two. I saw him get down. When I just saw him kind of work in the pocket a little bit better. Obviously, there was rust because it had been almost a year since he played, but I saw better decision making when he did scramble. So hopefully he's kind of learned his lesson. He got that concussion against Houston because he kind of led up at the end of that touchdown run and he took a lick from it. So, but hopefully he's kind of learned his lesson and finish a play, get out of bounds, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But
Before I
time will
ask another
tell if
one,
he's.
yeah, time will tell.
Mhm.
Gentlemen, before I ask another one, do you guys have one?
But while we're on that AR thing, is how much faith do you really have in that guy?
Man, when he was on the field, he was doing really good.
Yeah,
My kid's
when
crazy.
he's on the field.
Yeah, when he's on the field, he was doing really good, but that's a big part of the issue. I mean, he's availability is the best ability, and he wasn't available. So,
Well,
but
there's always Joe Flacco.
I don't want to trot out another Matt Ryan. I'm just saying the best scenario is we never see Flacco, but when he was playing, he was very athletic. He had all the touchdown runs that we expected. Just didn't play enough, So he's still technically in his rookie campaign, and but he's an athletic freak. Arm wise, he's got a cannon, and he's athletic like Lamar Jackson. He's just got to be smart like him when he runs. So.
Mhm.
I feel good if he stays healthy.
So I'm also going to piggyback off the AR thing. The only reason I asked, how do you think the Colts offensive line is? The only reason I asked that is because you mentioned like Lamar Jackson. That's a team that always has been a running team for as long as I can remember. So they built for something like that. And not say I know Lamar Jackson's gotten hurt quite a bit in his career, so I don't want to say it like that. But I feel like he's also had a lot more opportunities to like move around and possibly not get hurt behind a great offensive line. So that's just really my question. How do you think the offensive line is going to be?
I really like the offensive line. I think in 22, when it was Matt Ryan, they regressed pretty bad. But I think they found the left tackle of the future in Bernard Ryman. He's been really good. He's improved every year. He was one of the better left tackles, actually, which was surprising last year. He didn't let up a whole lot of sacks. And he doesn't get hit with holdings a lot. Quentin Nelson is Quentin Nelson. He's always been a monster. Brian Kelly's one of the better centers in the game. That right side with Price and Braden Smith is a little iffy. Braden Smith has some injury issues, but overall, if I'm not mistaken, in PFF, I think the Colts were ranked in the top 5 for their line, and it's they're running it back. So I feel pretty good about their line. They're very athletic. Shane Steichen likes to do a lot of run outsides, and he needs athletic linemen to get out there with his running back. So I like where this offensive line sits.
Okay. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor being one of the better backs in the NFL is something that'll benefit AR a lot if they can get the running game going against Houston. What exactly, like, if the running game is stopped, not necessarily just completely outright, but if it's slowed down to a point where it's not feasible to do it, do you think Anthony Richardson is capable of just winning the game on his own?
I think there was a Texans game last year. He had 2 touchdowns and a quarter change. They were on route to routing him. Honestly, I mean it was 28-10 at the half. So I think he has the ability to make throws. Like I said, he's got a rocket arm. It's just sometimes struggles with accuracy. We saw it in the preseason game with, I think it was the Bengals. He overthrew a few guys. And, I mean, it was Donnie Mitchell. He overthrew him probably a good yard or so. But, man, it would have been a touchdown if he hits him. So there's some struggles with – sorry. There's still some issues with accuracy, but we knew that coming out of college. But I like him. He's very athletic. He's very, very physically gifted. So I mean, I feel like he can can do it. It's just we don't want him fighting from being down. We don't want to see those errant throws, trying to hero ball, that kind of stuff. We don't want to see it. So if the game's close or the Colts are leading, I really like their chances of coming back from it. I'd like to see him do it, but we've had a very small sample size. So
yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Anyone want to piggyback on that one before I carry on?
That one, I'd want to ask: do you think there's a communication issue with him and his receivers? Because sometimes it just seems like they're not on the same page. I don't want to say that somebody's running the wrong play or just like, how you develop that relationship with your receiver. I know this guy likes it up and to the outside, or let me get it a little bit lower when I have him crossing and not leave him out to dry. At times, it looks like they haven't had that conversation or just that type of work together.
Yeah, they had all off season, but you could tell in the preseason there were some issues with communication, specifically with Granson. I know in the first preseason game they only played like one series, but Granson didn't run the right route on that one. It almost turned into an interception. It wasn't, but it very well probably should have been. And then there was the pick six where it looked like it was either like a tight end, like one of those option routes, and it looked like Granson was running the right route. Like he did the right decision. If he sits down or runs inside, what happens. And then if he goes outside, there's no one there. So I think Anthony Richardson kind of misread his body language. He did that like kind of stutter step. It looked like he was going to sit, and he kind of decided at the last second of it. So it looked like there was a little communication. There was an issue with Adonai Mitchell not on that same route where he overthrew. It looked like he was going to sit down, and Anthony Richardson put it as if he had kept going in stride. So I don't know if it's a route running issue, if it's a kind of an option thing. It's hopefully, it's in preseason, so hopefully they got all that worked out. But yeah, there was definitely some communication issues, timing issues.
Okay.
Once again, just gonna piggyback real quick. This is actually gonna bring both topics back in. The reason I only asked because Curtis, I know you asked him earlier. You were talking about the number of games that AR's played like throughout just his entire football career from high school.
Yeah.
Would you think that maybe lack of, I guess maybe like playing time, like at a high level, just at any level, but just at a high level, starting 6 games in high school, only 13 in college, and that was a big if. Just watching him on the draft board, the 13 games he played in college, and to only have had 4 last year. Would you think? And like I say, Mike, you were talking about the receivers. Would you think that might be an issue with him not being on the same page as his receivers? Maybe the experience is possibly not there. I'm just throwing something out there because it is a very curious thing to me too about not being on the same page with the receivers.
Yeah, it probably is to an extent. He's got the right mindset, and I don't know if you've listened to any of his pressers. He's always talking about learning and getting better. He's never once.
He's saying the right thing.
Oh yeah.
What?
That's what I say. He's saying the right things.
He's saying the right stuff. Whether or not he's actually doing it, we don't know. But I haven't seen any issues with the staff where he's not putting in the work. So hopefully this is just something that's kind of getting ironed out. And they didn't bring him in because he was Andrew Luck right now. He was Peyton Manning right now. They brought him in because he knew he was a project. It was just that high ceiling of potential. And he's only 22. So they're hoping that he can turn into that, hopefully this is a full season, and there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be interceptions. There's going to be bad throws. There's going to be some bad decisions, but hopefully it's limited.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about Anthony Richardson. We've talked a little bit about the offensive line. I touched on Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is without a doubt the biggest weapon on the offense for the Colts. They get him going. It opens up a lot of different stuff. Are you aware of anything that they're trying to do schematically to get him involved early and often, or maybe more in the passing game or anything?
I would assume so. He didn't show us a whole lot in the preseason. I think in the Bengals game, he ran like 4 times. I think in the first preseason game, he ran like twice. So we haven't seen anything, and they only played 2 snaps together last season. So we haven't seen what kind of offense he wants to run with Jonathan Taylor. We haven't really really seeing what he's going to do and how he's going to deploy these guys. I think it's pretty obvious that this offense is going to run through Jonathan Taylor. We've seen what a great, strong running back can do with a young quarterback. So I feel like it's going to run through him, and I really like the potential that could be with this run game. The threat of Anthony Richardson pulling it down or handing it off to JT. It has a lot of people excited, and I think for good reason. They're both like JT. He was the league leading rusher, and I think him and T.Y. Hilton could go down as owners of the Texans. So
you had to go there. You had to go there. Oh,
yeah.
But I think that just helps boost that run game.
Yeah. What'd you say, Chris?
I can't stand T.Y. Hilton. Jonathan Taylor don't bother me, but
it
nothing
hits
like Derrick Henry's way worse to me than Jonathan Taylor. If we're going to talk about somebody owning us, I can't stand him.
Hey man, he averages like what 150, 160 a game on y'all.
Yeah, Derrick Henry was averaging like 200 on us.
Yeah, he was at like 200.
It was literally.
Who doesn't he average like 200 on the field?
Running on us from the other side of the field at 30 miles an hour, you swear he's so fast.
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Dude is a monster.
We've talked about the offense. Let's talk about the defense. The Colts defensive line, one of the best in football. You mix in the linebackers, they're probably a top 5 front 7. So explain to me, I guess give me a scenario where the secondary, being young, inexperienced, and maybe a little green, isn't going to be that bad for the Colts against the Texans.
The best help for a secondary is great pressure. And Colts were one of the top teams at sacks, and I've said this a lot. They were one of the top teams in getting to the quarterback, but when it came to pressuring him, they were one of the worst in the league. So it was either boom or bust for their front, basically their front. He didn't blitz a lot. I think 14, 15%, lowest in the league. So it was either they got to him or there was no pressure.
Yeah.
I think with the addition of Latu, that changes a lot of things. Yeah. He's fast. I don't want to say he is Dwight Freeney, but he's got that speed. He's got that agility to get around and really make life hell for either, the right or left tackle. And I feel like they're going to shift him around quite a bit. But pressure is the best way to alleviate the stress on a secondary. And it's outside of, Juju Brents. I think they're starting Jalen Jones, and he was a 6th, 7th rounder, and so it's outside of Juju Brents, man. That secondary looks young. It makes me a little nervous.
Well, is Kenny Moore still there, right?
Yeah, they got Kenny.
He's one of the best slot corners in the game, but so I mean, you got Juju, you got Kenny Moore. I feel like it's everywhere else. It's a lot of guys who need to prove something this year, or are so young they didn't get chances last year, so this year is their first kind of like foyer into the league. So I'm excited to see how the biggest battle to me in the Texans Colts game is going to be the front 7, both sides of the ball. Literally does not matter. So Texans got the ball. The offensive line versus the Colts defensive line is going to be what I'm watching. If they can make any sort of holes for Joe Mixon on Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner, I think that holds a lot of – if that's able to happen, I think we'll be able to run the ball on pretty much anybody.
That's a tall task, man.
It is a tall
Buckner, 2 of the best in the game.
Yeah, literally 2 of the best in the game.
What worries me is the outside rushes, and that was – it was without Grover, but those outside rushes last year, man, they were killing the Colts.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was just a lack of speed at linebacker. I don't know, but those outside runs were brutal in a lot of games.
Yeah. Which side of the ball do you think the Colts have more of a strength over the Texans, offense or defense?
Man, I think these teams match up really well together, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's the inexperience in our secondary. I think you guys have a great wide receiver core. Everybody talks about Tennessee. I actually think the Texans have a better wide receiver core. At one point, I think Tennessee might have had the better receivers, but they're
It's
older,
been some
man.
years.
It's been some years. It's like I actually really like Houston's wide receivers better. I think they are the best group in the AFC South, especially against our secondary. Makes me a little nervous, but I think it's a toss up between our front seven and of course the run game that we already talked about. You know, the way that Jonathan Taylor's performed against the Texans, and then they haven't been him and Anthony Richardson weren't on the field in that game together. So I think that run game might kind of have the edge with it, but it's kind of a toss up between the two.
Yeah. He's only played in 6 games against the Texans, and he's made them their bitch, essentially. His bitch, I guess. It hurts, but that's just what it is. Jonathan Taylor is a force of nature, it feels like. Sometimes it feels like the Texans defense was like the camp counselors at like Camp Crystal Lake, and Jonathan Taylor is just like emerging out of the water, like machete in hand, ready to take care of some business.
Hey, you just painted a picture in my head that I wasn't thinking. Now I'm more terrified.
Now I need to get in like Adobe Express and make a like Photoshop Jonathan Taylor on Jason or something.
Look, back in the day, that was the thing. I think, for most of the season last year, the defense was phenomenal against the run. I mean, we were able to absolutely destroy Derrick Henry in our 2 matchups. I think he had like a total of 50 yards rushing and receiving on like 25 touches. That's huge for us against Derrick Henry. I think outside of the last game of the year against the Colts, where Jonathan Taylor ran for 188, a touchdown on 33 carries.
You sure it wasn't 200? It felt like 200.
Look, every time he touched the ball, I was getting mad. I was just like, all right, and we're still moving. Yeah. I think this defense is a little bit better than last year's. Even though we're missing Christian Harris, there's a possibility that there's no Will Anderson Jr. this week. I still think Daniil Hunter is a better opposite edge rusher than we had at Derek Barnett last year. So if Will Anderson plays and Daniil Hunter plays up to what he did last year, I immediately think this defensive line is capable of doing way better against Jonathan Taylor than they have in the past. Foloronzo Fotokasi, definitely not a pass rusher, but he is a space eater. He is a large man. We just need him to do large man things and get in the way. That's it. Eat up blocks, get in the way. Let Aziz be able to read those holes, plug those holes, and knock Jonathan Taylor into next week. That's the dream. That's the dream. Do you have any questions about the Texans?
I mean, y'all have asked me, where I think the Colts have an advantage. What do you guys think the Texans have an advantage over the Colts?
I think you probably called it with that wide receiver group versus right there. That's a hard to compete with thing. Like not just the best in the AFC South, might be the best in the NFL, just from a talent wise. We're gonna talk this. Tank would have had 1,000 yards last year. Stephon had 1,000 yards in the first 9 games, and Nico. That's a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm 6'2", about 230 right now, and he makes me feel small.
Yeah, Nico is a big dude.
Yeah.
But they're all fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you called it on that one right there. That's going to be the matchup. The thing, if CJ has time, I need to apologize. We didn't even bring up Dalton Schultz. We didn't even talk about the guy, and he's out there as well. It's going to be hard to find 4 guys to cover those 4 guys. Not to speak on Joe Mixon coming out the backfield.
Yeah,
it's a Madden dream team if you really want to say it.
I mean, yeah, really, it is kind of. It does have that dream team.
Who's behind Schultz? What's it? I cannot think of his
Brevin
name.
Jordan.
Huh?
Brevin Jordan.
There you go, Brevin Jordan. He is fast.
Yeah.
For a tight end, he is fast.
Yeah.
That. So, like going back to the receiver thing, I think everything about the teams are basically evenly matched, except for when you want to compare probably running backs, because I think Jonathan Taylor's a way better running back. And if you want to compare quarterbacks, because we have not seen enough of Anthony Richardson. But when you get, but everything else, I feel like it's evenly matched, except for when you're going to talk about secondary wise, because last year, even in that playoff game, I understand it didn't end up being a lot of points, but just from the first play of the game where he threw the touchdown pass to Nico Collins, there's no Tank Dell, there's no Stephon Diggs at this time, and I think that's that might cause for you guys, especially if CJ has any kind of time, that might be a cause for some issues for you guys, just because they're so young. And Nico is extremely fast. We have some fast. For some reason, everybody just looks fast. Everybody just looks fast. It's incredible. And so I honestly think the speed is going to be the issue. I think that's really what's going to be more of the issue, to try the speed. Then you got, oh my God, Stephon Diggs. Oh my God, Tank Dell, who for some reason is going to be against our third cornerback. He's gonna be going against somebody in the. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's not gonna be going up against number 1 and number 2. That's what we have to understand. He's not gonna be going up against number 1, number 2. That's going to be an issue for a lot of teams, not just the Colts. I want to make that very clear. It's going to be an issue. As long as he stays healthy, as long as they don't put him, he don't need to block no more. I don't need Tank Dell to block. And I don't care if he's on the outside. Tank Dell do not need to block. Just catch the ball and run. That's all you need to do.
Speaking of small wide receivers who are probably blocking when they shouldn't be, how's Josh Downs doing?
He didn't practice, so his status is still up in the air. But I mean, it's a hit. He was one of the better rookies last year. Just in general, he produced quite a bit. He was that third down security blanket that the Colts had lacked for a while. So him not being there hurts. But they did get Adonai Mitchell, who is taller, faster.
He is fast.
He's going to be good.
Yeah,
he's going to be real good. So it'll hurt not having Pittman, Mitchell, and Downs, but I think Mitchell, and then they picked up Anthony Gould, who is one of the best kick returners in college, if not the best in the draft. So they got him, so he's got some speed too. So he'll probably be working a little bit too to kind of alleviate the Downs. So
good. I mean, even still, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., and Adonai Mitchell. That's not a bad 3 receivers to trot out on the field. I mean, it kind of felt like the Colts had a quiet offseason.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's only quiet because they kind of just ran it back with most of the veteran guys, and then just kind of complemented some weapons that they needed for their quarterbacks. On the off chance that AR doesn't make it through the whole season, how much confidence do you have in Joe Flacco?
Decent. I really like Shane Steichen. We saw how he was able to maneuver, because all the players that they brought in were all tailored for Anthony Richardson, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's Minshew, and they were still one of the, not the top scoring team, but they were still one of the top scoring teams last year with Minshew, so they were still able to get shit done. No Jonathan Taylor, no problem. They had Zach Moss. He was able to work this team, and so I like their chances of remaining competitive if it's Joe Flacco, but I don't know if there'll be that Browns magic that he had, but it's Shane Steichen, so maybe. But they become very one-dimensional if it's Flacco.
Well, Shane Steichen is what makes me nervous. If nothing else over there, he makes me nervous because he's been given a lot of toys to play with.
Yeah.
And the people out there in Philadelphia will tell you he's pretty good at playing with toys.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Love Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, y'all got y'all a coach. I don't care. Y'all got y'all a coach.
And I'm not gonna lie, man. When we were going into the season, and Curtis can attest to this. Oh gosh, why is your head coach's name drawing a blank? D'Amico, thank you. I knew it. He was on the top of my list. Shane Steichen was honestly second. But when I heard the Texans were making for a play, I'm like, of course he's going to go to the Texans. But I loved what D'Amico did with San Francisco. I hated when we had to play against him. Like he was good. He was a great player and he's a great coach. So
The AFC South is on its way up, regardless.
For sure.
Yeah, might be the most dangerous division this year.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, the AFC North will give us a run for that money, but I mean, AFC South, you can't wag a finger at them anymore and be like, "Oh, it's an easy win." Kind of like we used to be able to. It felt like everybody was just like, "Oh, we're playing the AFC South this year." Whew. All right.
That's 4
I
wins.
don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Unless maybe it's Jackson. I don't know. I'm really not sure what Jacksonville got going on, so we'll see with them.
Yeah. Everybody's a little, I don't know, non-committal with how Jacksonville's going to do this year, but that's for another.
Go either way, man. It's
a conversation for another day.
Oh yeah.
So while we got you here, let's get some predictions here because it is a preview. Let's have a little bit of fun. I'm going to pull up the over-unders. I don't know if they've even got them up this early. Please, ESPN.
There should be something.
would
I
assume
got it on my
so.
phone, but my kid has it.
Here we go. All right, the over-under, let's see, 48.5. The Texans open at a 2-point favorite. How we feeling? We going over-under?
Yeah.
Over.
I'm going over.
I want to say I like the over, and guys, this sounds bad to say it, but I like the over, and and the only reason I like the over is because it sounds bad to say, and I hope this does not happen because I don't wish bad on anybody, but I'm very scared for AR. Not my quarterback, but I'm very scared for him.
No.
And I'm scared
Want to
that
see him be
it's
successful.
really
Just not this
something.
week.
Yeah, I'm just scared something's gonna happen to him, and then Joe Flacco's gonna come in and put up a whole bunch of points. Not necessarily saying that the Colts go win or the Texans go. I'm just saying, just in general, because nobody's prepared for Joe Flacco, even though we did what it did to him. But ain't nobody. You know how it is. You're not prepared for. You prepare for AR. AR disappears, and look, Mitchell still tore us up at the rest of that game when AR went out last year. He did tear us up the rest of the game. It wasn't like it wasn't like it mattered. So that's the only reason I'm really scared for AR. I want to see him do great things, but I'm really scared for him.
Same.
I'm gonna go over, guys. I'm gonna go over. Of course, I'm gonna say the Texans are winning, but I'm gonna go over the point differential. I don't really care because, to be honest, we might not even cover. Shit, did we even cover? Who was the favorite in the last game of the season last year? You guys remember?
I have no idea.
I think it was a split. It was pretty split down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so like I feel about the same. 2 points is not a big deal. It's less than a field goal. So that's one of those that can go either way type of thing. I think the game's going to be close.
Yeah.
I really do.
Do you have a score prediction?
Oh man.
Since we're going over, it's what, like
man.
we need 49 points. So
yeah, I know, but I see them both easily scoring over 20. So I'm gonna go. Oh man. What's that 48? Man, that's a
48.5.
Guys, I'm just trying to come up with a realistic score here.
35-21. 35-21 Houston.
Okay. 35-21.
Probably feel like it probably should be 24, but I'll go 35-21.
Okay. Noted. I'm going to go under. I think this is actually going to be a little bit more of a defensive heavy game. I think these two teams know each other pretty well. They The burn of the way the Texans beat them last year is still fresh in the memory. I think the Colts are going to come out ready to go, but I think Houston ends up kind of squeaking it out at the end in a very hard-fought game, 24-23.
Ooh.
Hmm.
My heart can't take that
Interesting.
score.
The only way that I could see this game being under is honestly if the Colts can control possession and run the ball really well on the Texans. That's the only way I could see this being an under.
Keep the
But
ball.
I think there's too much firepower on the Texans side. I think that there's honestly a lot on the Colts too. The game's going to be one of the trenches, but it's who gets the sack at the right time. Like if you get a first down sack, both of these teams I think are more than capable of making that up. It's those third down sacks. It's hard. I mean, this could be a defensive battle, and it could get out of hand. But I honestly see it going over. And of course, I'm going to say the Colts, but I'm going to go 31-28.
I want to play
And
my heart.
just,
I want to
31
get close.
and I'm gonna go ahead and just let me go ahead and throw my prediction in there. I'm gonna honestly go. Man, I gotta go 28-24. I'm barely over, but I think it's gonna make the over. I don't think it's gonna be significantly over, but I do think it's gonna go over, but still be I think it's gonna be a very close game, in my opinion.
Okay. Valid. So that means Jeff says over 31-20 Indianapolis. I said under 24-23 Houston. Chris said over 28-24 Houston. Mike said 35-21 Houston, but he feels like it's probably going to be 21 or 24-21. All right. Look, I mean, I think this is a pretty good first preview of the NFL season. I think it's a good spot to go ahead and wrap this up. Do we have any closing comments?
Go Colts, baby.
Screw you, T.Y. Hilton.
All right. Well, folks, I want to thank you all for watching this evening. Go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button. We're trying to grow the channel. Currently at 102. Like I say, that number keep rising with the drop of this podcast. Go over to Unstabled at Unstabled1. Like and subscribe. You'll see me over on their podcast later this evening, as well as you'll see Jeff and I on Curtis's podcast network, this AFC South show. Go hit a like, subscribe over there. Head on over to Chris's YouTube channel, That Crazy Podcast and Talk. Head on over to Mike's YouTube channel, Mass 3 Productions. Hit a like, subscribe over there. Notification bells on everybody so you don't miss any future content. And yeah, be good people. Jeff, thank you. And boys, thank you for your time this evening.
Not a problem.
Get y'all on the reaction.
All right.
Go Texans.